just do some headline stuff, if that's all right. Simon's mentioned some of the things. But when I look back over the year, of course, funding has been on our mind, and it has been on our mind for a few years, because we have a sole source of income, which is the St Helens Metropolitan Borough Council, and we've been very grateful to have that funding over the years. But we're always mindful of the fact that with hard times ahead, that we, like other groups, might find ourselves at the wrong end of the knife when it comes to costs. So we've been always anxious to make sure we try and get some independent sources of income. And you recall last year we did have a conversation about setting up a limited company, a sort of structure, so that CEN could seek alternative sources of funding so that we could keep going. So it's partly to get an alternative income. It's also as importantly, if not more importantly, to keep our independence, so that we don't have a sole funder and we can do the kind of things that we probably need to do in the coming years. So I can report that we now have set up a structure, and that's all it is at this stage. It's called Centreprising Limited, and we'll have more conversations with you about how that might work and how we can use it to generate income and to continue to support in a practical way groups on the ground as well as keep us going. So that has been done. The CEN, of course, has an advocacy role, and Simon has mentioned that our work developing active citizenship has been to the fore in the last year. And we, again, trying to do this additional funding thing. Partly that, but also partly to get the CEN's name out there, that we are capable of doing these things. We actually applied for certain contracts to deliver training on antisocial behaviour, on connecting communities, on working in a practical way with groups who are trying to tackle things on the ground. So that was really great, because we won these contracts and got out there and did things, not just in St Helens, but also across the Northwest. And we partnered with other organisations. So this was a new thing. So we're very proud of that. And I think those things helped us to get the work with the British Council. And we shouldn't underestimate that, because it's an international organisation that deals with millions of pounds given overseas to help build cultural relations. And this is a focus now back on, well, how do we actually start to build community and build relations between communities, let's say, in this country and across the world. So that's fun. And the chance then for connecting up, for community groups to start connecting up and picking up projects that benefits everyone at a bigger level, social action projects. For example, we've already got going in St Helens this growing healthy food and selling it. So you've got a small project that started off with a great idea. It meets a whole range of objectives in terms of healthy food, etc. Learning skills about turning gardens and allotments into growing things, and then selling stuff. So it does a number of things. And if that idea is spread across into schools, etc., which it is, then that's something that we can support. Well, there may be other projects that we can support through this programme. So that's great. On the CEN itself, we've also had access to the job funds, Job Start Fund, Future Jobs Fund. I always forget the name of that. Thank you, Simon. And we've had the services of 3 young people in the last 18 months. We currently have 4 who's operating the technology over here for us. And it's been fun, because we've had young people around the office, and they've done all this technology stuff for us. So they've set up Nings. Who knows what a Ning is? No, doesn't it just sound like something from Monty Python? I mean, this is where it's, Nings and Twitters and social media and all this palaver, which some of us, are trying to catch up with. But this is what young people, this is their world, this is how they connect, etc. And so we're trying to set up not just physical face-to-face things that we do, but also to spread the net wider, use the social networking, the internet sites, etc., and the Twitters and the tweets, which is just basically sending text messages, is what it is, as I discovered. but they're really important. And in terms of mobilising support for things, they're very important. You know, if we want to get a message out, something's going on next year about the CUTS word, we might be interested to tell each other, you know, what's happening. We might see that there's something really good going in a neighbouring authority, which we know. Pendle, for example, has had meetings with its community groups for weeks. This is what's going on, you know, let's work together on how we do this. We've not been in that sort of game with the council. We've been encouraging it, and hopefully that will start to happen. But when we learn from others' good practice, we can let each other know. So all of this technology, although it might seem a little remote, I think it will be very, very helpful to us in the future. So every ward has a NING site, which means all of your groups, if you've got something on, you know, we let Chris know and he puts it in the paper for us, bless him, and we stick up leaflets, and Barbara's been sending leaflets about what's going on at Clinton Wood. But the technology is also there to let Simon know that you can actually put up a leaflet on your NING site, so it's actually up on the internet for your ward. If there's something, you've noticed something going on in your ward, and you want to let other people know about it, you know, hey, you know, what's happened to that, you know, ground or that fence or that something in our ward, you can have that put up on your NING site. You know, maybe we talk to new community centre examples at how, you know, this sort of thing, how we can make it more useful for everyone. So Simon's talked about the practical empowerment projects, and CEN has very much had this, you know, advocacy role. We were set up to sit on committees, we set up the ward committees. We're here to make sure that the voice of the groups gets through to the decision makers on the local strategic partnership and so on. We continue to do that, but increasingly we're seeing the benefit of actually doing practical things in community, and I think that will form a future part of the work that we do. How the infrastructure will work out in terms of local strategic partnership, we don't know. The new system is called a local enterprise partnership, which is at a higher level. It's a Liverpool, it's St Helens, it's kind of a city region level, and the community representation in that will be through one organisation representing a multitude. So we'd have to say that it really isn't, we would say it isn't adequate. You don't get the closeness, you don't get the kind of relationships that we've benefited from. I'm sure colleagues around the room probably agree to that. So we do get a hook into it, but I think it's going to be such a high level that there will be a bit of a gap. So how that is addressed, I think we'll find out as things evolve, because this is a new environment, so we'll see. I've mentioned active citizenship. Simon, you've mentioned that, so I won't talk more about that, but this is something that we believe in, actually. Not just talking about empowerment, but what does it really mean in practice? You know, if it's about having a job, if it's about having an influence, if it's about feeling held, all of these things, if it's about really feeling safe in the community, how do we really work together to make that happen in a practical way? And we'll be doing more of that. And so I come to the last part, which is farewell from outgoing chair, which is me, and I've been chair of the Consent Empowerment Network for the last 4 years. And I've been proud to be chair of the Consent Empowerment Network for the last 4 years. And we have had a journey from being under one structure to then developing something which has been much more grassroots based. Move to get our own building, move to employ our own staff, move for this greater independence, and of course moving now ahead to get the limited social enterprise structure off the ground so that we can actually do more income generation. And that's where we're heading. Thank you all for your support over the years, Simon and Dan for the fabulous work that they do. They do all this kind of setting it up, etc., etc. Chris and panel members who turn up for all of the meetings that we have behind the scenes to make sure that things happen and that we get the voice into the various committees and so on. So with that, I ask you to accept the Chair's report and thank you.